Big tournaments are back in Fortnite. We just had the first Divisional Cup since October. I'll talk about all the teams that did well in Opens, which big names missed out on the finals, who our new duos are in the region. I'll do my predictions for the Grand Finals. I also want to talk about the Reload Elite Series qualifier that we have on Saturday, and I'll give you my pick for the top 3 teams that will qualify for the LAN in August. Let's get straight into it. So let's start by talking about the Divisional Cup. These Opens are actually super stacked because as it's the first cup, we only had about 300 teams that were playing, which did mean that a lot of big teams missed out. More on that in a minute. The winners of the tournament were Kami and Charyy. They are obviously always good at the Opens round. In my opinion, they are probably the favourites to win the next FNCS. I know that's a while away, but they are such a good duo. They're very good at adapting to new metas, and as we will be playing in FNCS in the new season, I do think that's a skill that will be valuable. But in terms of today's performance, they were excellent. Charyy in particular had the best damage ratio and 4th for eliminations. I feel like he's a player that definitely needs to be put in more conversations with the best players in Europe. There's a lot of duos that could potentially win FNCS, so maybe I'll change my mind about this in a couple of months, but the way things are going, I have huge expectations for Kami and Charyy. The performances they're putting in are excellent. In second place, we had another Polish duo of Dom and Demus. These guys also are very consistent. We know how good they are from their breakout year last year, and I don't think they're showing any signs of slowing down. I'm expecting a big performance from them in the first FNCS of the year, and with the Div Cups we have before then, I do think they should be aiming to win at least one of those. Running down the leaderboard, you can see Wheaton the Frizzy in 3rd, a solid performance from them. We've also got Vico and Malabuka and Sky and Scroll. An interesting duo that I want to point out is King Cringe and Velo in 9th. Now, a lot of people have said that they were only good in the off season, that they only did good in Victory Cups, and I'm glad that they're proving those people wrong by performing in the first big tournament of the season. Yes, I know it's only Opens, but they are going to be uncontested in finals, spoiler for later, so I could see them doing well. This performance definitely discredits people who are saying that the off season doesn't matter. Yes, we shouldn't treat it with the same weighting as we do with the regular season. Yes, the tournaments aren't as important, but you can't look past the fact that King Cringe and Velo have worked super hard for the last few months, and we're starting to see the rewards from that. We are seeing them performing better than they were before, and that's only down to the fact that they've been working so hard, they've been placing in Victory Cups. We need to give them credit for that, and they're clearly reaping the rewards. I'm aware that the mental side of their game isn't too strong. They did argue during this cup. They've done that in lots of previous cups. This really isn't new for them. If anything, it's kind of just an aspect of their game, and if they can get that sorted out, if they can get the mental side of their game fixed, then they could be so good. The fact that they are this good whilst they're arguing and not engaging with each other properly is insane in itself. Before I talk about the new duos on the EU, let's talk about some of the big names that failed to make the Divisional Cup finals, finishing outside the top 50. We had Mr. Savage and Mongrel narrowly missing out, finishing in 68th place. Not horrendous from them, they just couldn't quite get it over the line, but I'm sure they're going to make some subsequent Divisional Cup finals. I don't think they're going to keep missing out on every tournament. We also had Yapko and Panzer and Thomas HD and Focus very narrowly miss out. In terms of teams that finished outside the top 100 players, remember we had 296 teams queue up. We had Merstash and Vanya outside the top 100. I feel like I've said this a couple of times that these guys just haven't really hit form yet. Following his Globals win, we know that Merstash hasn't been that locked into Fortnite. Also, Vanya hasn't been placing too high either. But as I always say, these guys have a lot of quality. They're both very good players, undeniably. And even if they are out of form, I'm sure it's not going to be long before they're placing well. We had Akira and Karama also finish outside the top 100, as did Queasy and Rax finishing in 205th. Definitely would have expected more from them. We had Veno and Loki. Veno playing with another Phil player as he is going to NA Central very soon. They came in 245th. And we had Acorn and Peterbot, of course the duo from NA Central, finishing in 2nd from last. They only played 7 games out, but they just couldn't quite make it work on EU. But listen, we've seen them play well on EU in the past. They did actually make a Divisional Cup finals back in Chapter 6 Season 4. I'm sure they could manage that again this year, and it would be entertaining to see if they did. Before I talk about the tournament stats and give my predictions for the finals, let's talk about some of the new duos on the region. Their biggest one being Vidil and Noah Rayleigh. Now, it seems like Vidil and Reason have officially split. We know that Reason hasn't been taking the game too seriously since Globals has ended. He's been focusing on the content side of things, on real life content, and I feel like yes, he probably will continue playing competitive, but I in terms of being a world-class player, in terms of being at the top of his game, I do suspect that he is done. He did actually play the tournament with Maxi King, but they didn't finish particularly high, outside of the top 200 in fact. I think Reason is just focused on making content, on having fun, and yeah, he'll still play competitive, and yes, he'll still be good, because his skills of fighting, of clutching up situations never go away. He is still a great player. I just don't think he's going to be in the conversations to make tournaments like Globals anymore. I don't think he's going to be at that level. Let's talk about Vadil and Noah Rayleigh though. They also didn't make the finals, unfortunately, coming outside of the top 100. But this is a duo that I could see doing well. They're both excellent fighters. They both have a lot of chemistry from playing with each other for years in the past. So there shouldn't be any surprises between the two of them. I'm sure they could do well, and I'm excited to see how they get on. One other duo that we saw split was Pradaj and Faded Pigeon. Pradaj is now playing with Gonzo. Gonzo is obviously an up-and-coming Norwegian player, someone who attracted attention in the solo series, as he was third after day one in that tournament, putting in an excellent performance. He's also been doing good with specs in a couple of tournaments during the off-season. I've seen him on the leaderboards a few times. I do think he's deserved this opportunity to play with Pradaj, and I could see them doing pretty well together. In terms of Faded Pigeon, he is now playing with Skavi. Again, this is a pretty solid duo. I do feel like maybe both of these guys have upgraded in terms of splitting with each other, which is always an interesting thing to see. I did quite like Pradaj and Faded Pigeon, but I could see Pradaj and Gonzo maybe being a dynamic that works slightly better. Gonzo's ex-duo mate Specs is now playing with Zolks, so we do now have an all-Norwegian duo. Let's talk about some of the other new duos that actually managed to make it to the grand finals. We had Mixon and Franek make it. Mixon, someone who is a very capable player who can lead well, and Franek, someone who's been widely regarded as a solid fighter for quite some time now. I could easily see these guys performing in the finals, more on that in a minute. We also had Tiddy and Uppel forming as a duo, Sangild and Zabi, Burke and Zany, and Calais Jr. and Phantom. Not all of those duos are completely new, but it is the first time we've seen them in a tournament of this caliber. I also want to give a shout out to Tioff and Donald, an excellent up-and-coming French duo that I've been seeing a lot of on the leaderboard, and I feel like nobody really speaks about them. They have been performing well lately, and if they continue the way they are performing, I could see them qualifying for some FNCS majors this year. We also had Tayson and Wox finish in 50th place, just about making it into the finals. Credit to them. Now let's go over the stats for the tournament. In terms of damage, we had Shark in first, no surprises there. We all know what an incredible fighter he is. He also came second for eliminations, being beaten out by only one player, which was of course Chap and Flixie, a team that I'll talk about a little bit more in depth later, but you guys already know how highly I rate them. Now, let's get into the map and let's get into the predictions. I will say right now, this is an incredibly tough lobby to predict. I don't know what's going on with this map. It feels more congested than normal. It feels like all the good teams are contested. I don't know who's going to be splitting, who's going to be fighting. It's hard to predict at this moment in time when obviously the finals aren't until Sunday. The map will definitely evolve between now and then. I am going to give you my top 5 though, as of how it is right now, but I am sure that's going to change, so check out my Twitter on Sunday for my full predictions. It is definitely a weird top 5. You've got teams like Kami and Charyy, Chap and Flixie, Sky and Scroll, all contested, so I just haven't been able to include them as of right now. In 5th place I've got King Cringe and Velo. They are uncontested at their drop spot. They've been looking good lately. Yes, they've been arguing. Yes, they don't have a huge amount of set lobby experience, but I'm backing them to come in 5th place. In 4th I've put Chino and Pablo Wingu. Now they are currently contested at Sandy Strip by Charyy and Finchik, but there's so much loot at that POI that I feel like it makes sense for them to split it. I can't see why they'd fight off spawn every game. I could be wrong about that, but the way I would call that, I do think Chino and Pablo will probably get off spawn every game and therefore should be getting at least 4th place. We know how good Chino and Pablo are at fighting, we know their quality as players, and if they're getting off spawn every time with a good amount of loot, then they should be finishing in 4th, no problem. Dharm and Demus are my pick for 3rd place. They've got Clawsy Lodge uncontested, and with that they should be getting at least top 3. We know their quality already, I've spoken about them in this video. Vico and Malabuka I've put in 2nd. They are uncontested at the split north of Wonky Land, and we've seen them in great form lately. They won their Reload heat by some distance, looking excellent as they did so, and I think they're going to continue that form with a 2nd place. In first, of course, my pick is Shark and Teeny. Uncontested wonky lands. I do think that is a recipe for a first place. They'll get so much loot out of that. They can do damage to teams around them. I do see a world in which Shark and Teeny qualify. They are my pick to win the first Divisional Cup of the season. As I've already mentioned, the map will evolve, so I'll do a full top 10 prediction over on my Twitter on Sunday. Stay tuned for that. Over on NA Central, we had 5 EU duos qualify for the finals. They were Sky and Scroll, Malabuka and Panzer, Zangi and Belusi, Akira and Karama, and King Cringe and Velo. Credit to all of those teams. A lot of those names are ones that I constantly see doing well on other regions, that are constantly putting in the time, the effort, and there's a reason why they're doing well at the moment. So credit to them. Hopefully we can see at least one of those teams with a high performance in the finals. Now, let's talk about the Reload Elite Series qualifier that we have on Saturday. This is the grand finals. We had a bunch of opens rounds, and we have now whittled it down to 20 teams. Of that 20 teams, 3 can qualify for the LAN, which is in August. We will have 12 EU representatives at that LAN, and the first 3 of those will be qualifying on Saturday. Now, let's have a look at the map and let's talk about my picks to go through. The team that I think are the most locked is Sky and Scroll. They have Stilt Town uncontested. Because they're uncontested, it's kind of in their own hands as to how well they do. I don't think they're going to have to worry about getting keyed too much. They obviously have a lot of quality. They've been doing great lately, and I do think they are going to make it through. In terms of the other 2 teams, this may seem a bit controversial, but I'm going to pick Chap and Flixie and Vico and Malabuka. Now, you may look at the battle at Slurpy Swamp and think, well, these guys are contested. None of these guys are going to do well because they're all going to be fighting off spawn. My personal take on the Slurpy Swamp situation is that there's enough loot for 3 teams. Because of the central map positioning, because they're basically going to pull every zone, there's a huge amount of slurp there's a huge amount of loot. I don't think they need to fight. Maybe I could be wrong about that, but I don't think they need to fight. I think there's not going to be as big a battle as people make out. I think the teams are going to exist in harmony there, and honestly I could see them all doing well. Maybe that's not how it's going to go down. You can let me know in the comments below if you disagree. I just feel like there's so much loot at Slurpy, there's just so many advantages to that POI that you almost don't need to fight. You can kind of just exist symbiotically there, and that's why I think Chap and Flixie and Vico and Malabuka will qualify for the LAN. But listen, there's a lot of other valid picks as well. You've got Dom and Demus uncontested at the split above Slurpy. You've got Shark and Teeny who are contested at Dirty Dogs by Mumsy and Sato, but maybe they split that, who knows. Some of my honourable mentions to do well, but I'm not sure we'll be able to get into the top 3, but I do still think we'll have a good tournament, are Darkos and Minori, who are landing at the south side of Steamy Stacks. These guys should be splitting it with Ping and Kiro. They've been looking really good lately, especially in Reload. I could see them having a strong performance. The exact same with Vexy and SnozQ, who are landing at Lockdown Lighthouse. They've been looking good lately too. I could see them surprising a couple of people. I mean, there's also so many other top teams in this lobby. You've got Chino and Pablo Wingu, Ping and Kiro. It's going to be super hard to make it into that top 3, but it does mean it's going to be a really entertaining finals. I'm super excited for it. It's a stacked lobby, and it'll be interesting to see who makes it. I'll have the full predictions out for you on Saturday on my Twitter in case anything on the map changes, but as of right now, those are my 3 picks to qualify for the LAN event in August. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I make these kind of videos every few days to keep you guys up to date on everything that happens in EU. If you want to support me any further, then using code SPUDZON in the Fortnite item shop is a great way to do that. Thank you very much for watching the video. See you in the next one.